This is my new nano shrimp tank. It can comfortably fit on my desk, I can move it whenever I want with no problem. Apart from a single light, it doesn't require any equipment and requires almost no maintenance. And the best part is, it's made from leftovers and trimmings from my other tanks. Let me show you how I did it. This is the tank I will be using for this build. It is 20 cm cube that holds exactly 8 liters of water. So it's small enough to be placed almost anywhere, but big enough so we can actually do something with it. On top of it, I'm placing this very cheap light. But this will be changed later for something more powerful. As I mentioned before, I will not use any filter, heater, or CO2. Last time I was using slightly smaller cubes for this kind of builds, but I decided to switch them for something slightly bigger. I think it really makes a difference when it comes to quality of life for your shrimp. So anyway, this is what I will be using for this build. And I know what you're thinking. This looks terrible, like actual leftovers or some trimmings at best. And yeah, you're correct, because this is exactly what it is. The main motive for this tank is to avoid waste and use things that I have laying around from the tanks I took down, trimming sessions, and so on. So I don't have an actual plan, but I just don't want those plants to rot. So let's get to work. I'm starting from creating some kind of a wood structure that would be the center of the cube. I have few pieces from my old tanks, plus some cuts from bigger wood pieces. This is why they look so different right now, but I'm sure I will be able to build something from those. And after many tries, I ended up with something like this. Center wood island that will be a base for the rest of the build. To connect those two pieces, I use my usual technique, so cotton pads and cyanoacrylate glue. Wood structure is done, so I can start playing with it. Because I have a lot of moss taken from my old tank, I want to try something with it. So what I'm thinking is that I should cover most of this wood with those moss trimmings. To keep the moss in place, I will be using some cotton thread. So what I have to do now is to tie it at the beginning, like that, and then start placing my moss in small portions, exactly like that. Every now and then I use the thread to secure the moss in place. You probably see that this moss is not in the best shape, but it's because it was in the tank that was neglected a bit. But that's okay, it should be fine. So after a while, this is what I got. Of course, I assume that this moss will grow and hide the thread, but it already looks alright. I do exactly the same with other half of the wood structure. Alright, so far so good. And this is how it looks like in the tank. A good base for the rest of the build. In the next step, I want to split this tank in half using some pebbles. I do that because I want to have some nutrient-rich substrate in the back. But I would like to have only sand in the front, and those pebbles will lock the substrate in one place. Now a quick spray to prevent the moss from drying out, and we can keep scaping. Like I said, in the front I want to have sand only for the aesthetic reasons, but it will also lock those pebbles in place and make the entire structure much more stable. This is how it looks like from this side, exactly as planned. And now I can safely fill the back with some nutrient-rich substrate. And finally, I can secure it in place by capping it with very thin layer of sand. It will make the planting easier and will help keeping those nutrients away from the water column. Okay, it's time to start planting. I'm starting from this dwarf sedge at the back. I'm placing them deep enough so the roots can reach this substrate. Next, I go for this script right here. Some Anubias pangolino that I cut to have some details on the wood. And finally some trimmings of Ludwigia Mini Super Red. This one will also go to the back to have the access to this active substrate. Okay, that's enough planting for now. The cube looks okay, but lacks a bit of details in the front. This is why I'm placing here and there some pebbles. Okay, looks better already. As a last step for now, I moved it into its place and filled it up with water. And this is how it looks like with water inside. Still very fresh and obviously very new. Definitely not ready for shrimp yet. And that's alright, but I'm hoping that it will look much wilder once all the plants start growing. And here we are after a few weeks, actually quite a lot of weeks. The tank is much more mature, looks definitely more like a forest or maybe even a jungle. Moss is growing nicely and I'm really happy with it. You probably immediately noticed that there are some changes. And yes, this plant right there is new because the old crypt completely melted away. I had this Hydrocotyl trapatita Japan available, so I just used it. And the next change is this Hygrophila polysperma right here in the back. Those are again trimmings, but I wanted to try it out because I'm kind of hoping that it will grow out of this cube. So it will add kind of another dimension to it. But overall, for something that was done without any planning and completely made from scraps and leftovers, I'm super happy with it. And I'm also very happy that none of those plants went to waste. Right now there are a few corona snails and cherry shrimps inside. And they are doing all just so good. Tank seems to be healthy, and apart from those few melting problems, everything is growing just great. The only thing that you need to be aware of that it took quite some time for the moss to grow, something like 2.5 months. It's because all those plants were from different tanks, and I think that they just needed to adjust to new conditions. So at the beginning all growth was quite slow, but after a slow start I started to see a lot of progress. So if you are thinking about creating a nano tank for your shrimp, maybe something like this. And also remember that if you're cleaning your tank, if you're cutting a lot of plants, you can use them. I'm always very happy with this kind of builds. So I strongly recommend to try something like this out. If you're planning to do something like this, let me know in the comments. It's always great to hear from you guys. But for now, thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one.